Gladewater, Texas may be known as the antique capital of Texas and offer a lot in the way of shopping and good food, but it's all the lost history all over the city that has brought us back to explore more. From Elvis Presley to the Texas Rangers and a whole lot of history in between, this week we're in Gladewater, Texas.
Texas is full of lost history, from lost cemeteries to abandoned buildings, from the infamous to the obscure. Hitch a ride and travel across the Lone Star State, looking for hints of Texas' colorful past, our lost history. This is Expedition Texas, and we're gonna find it.
Gladewater, Texas went from a community to a booming city seemingly overnight when oil was struck in the Sabine River bottom in 1931. The economy was strong on the back of oil for a while, but in the 1970s, as the oil dried up, Gladewater diversified its economy. By the 1990s, numerous antique stores filled the downtown area, and annual events like the Roundup Rodeo and the Arts and Crafts Festival brought visitors. But it was a DJ and promoter by the name of Tom Perryman who first brought the city to the attention of the king of rock and roll. And in 2016, we first visited Gladewater with Tom to see the stops Elvis Presley made when he came to town.
The first money that Elvis Presley made in the state of Texas, we charged $1 a person. And I guess we were there probably from about 8 o'clock until midnight. Maybe he did 3 sets, $1 a person. The total money that Elvis Presley made in the state of Texas, his first date, was $90. And I gave him all of it. He took half of it, and he gave his other half to Scotty Moore and Bill Black. He came back in January of '55 and stayed at the Restmore Apartments. Now, Bob, right here's where it happened. Elvis Presley stayed in this room a week in January of 1955. Jim Ed Brown and Maxine Brown and some of the members of the Louisiana Hayride Band was also here. Scotty and Bill. Scotty Moore and Bill Black was Elvis's band. 104. And he came back again in August of '55 and stayed here another 5 nights.
Really?
And we worked every night. And that's right in here around Gladewater.
Really?
Including the Mayfair building in Tyler, every time he was here. The Rio Palm Isle in Longview. Okay, we played Kilgore. And I've got a list of those dates, the newspaper ads that we ran. About this room, they're in the process of remodeling. It's going to be Restmore Apartments.
Okay.
This 104 room was probably just right here. All of this has been added since then.
Little bitty rooms, and they've now made it into kind of an efficiency apartment, but this would have been the room. Did you ever come in here?
I don't remember it. I probably did. But I was on the air 4 or 5 hours a day. But it seemed like I might have come out here once or twice, but I don't remember. Could have. Maybe you rode several of the shows with us. Some of these gals, women around here now, remember 104.
Ah.
At those first shows in Texas, Tom Perryman got a glimpse of what was to come for Elvis Presley. Now, over 60 years later, we're going with Tom back to the KSIJ studios, perfectly preserved on the top floor of the T.W. Lee building in Gladewater, Texas, to reminisce about Elvis's first performances in the Lone Star State.
So I guess it's been a while since you came to work every day walking down this hall.
Well, yeah. I opened up the station.
Really?
Then I started selling advertising.
Yeah.
I'd go to Gilmer and Longview, Tyler, and everywhere.
So you came in here, started things up every single morning?
Yeah. Well, yeah, most of the time I did. And then I had to go to the transmitter too. And they were welcome just to come in. They didn't have to notify me or nothing. Many of them would come in here and be on my show. hall, I went, and then I would go in here, and I don't know, I've always had a stack of cards and letters.
That's how they get their requests in, right?
That's so, yeah, penny postcards and 3-cent letters, sometimes over 100 in one day's mail. This was the control room. Where you're sitting, this is the basis for those big 16-inch turntables. Had 2 of them. And this was a dual Gates Company board, we called it.
Yeah.
And we could cue up the records. And everything was a record that was mostly 78s back in the early days before the 45s come out, right here. And these artists come on east or west on Highway 80 would always stop here, try to come by when I was on the air between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the mornings. And they were welcome just to come in. They didn't have to notify me or nothing. Many of them would come in here and be on my show. We'd talk where they were, what they're doing, where they're going next. We helped them. The disc jockey was proud to be a part of helping create a songwriter, an artist, or a musician.
Obviously, this isn't a radio station anymore. What happened in this radio station?
The people that owned this station, Mr. T.W. Lee had died. His brother was in charge of the estate. And the office called me and said, Tom, if you would come back and work at the KSIJ and build it up like it was when you left, that they would pay you better and they'd let you eventually be a co-owner, maybe a lease management thing. So I jumped up and took off. Worked like a dog day and night and did that. But they ended up selling it to somebody I couldn't work for.
We've come back to Gladewater, Texas to learn more about the lost history there. We've been told that a small baseball team that started there eventually became none other than the Texas Rangers.
The man who was responsible for bringing professional baseball to Dallas-Fort Worth was Dick Burnett from Gladewater, Texas. Of course, he was an old oil and gas man from Gladewater, made his riches here, but he loved baseball. And so he, in 1948, purchased the Texas Rebels, which became the Dallas Eagles. He paid $550,000 for the team. He paid another $250,000 to remodel the stadium in Dallas. Those dollars, $800,000 in 1948, would be like $10 million today. So he spent a lot of money. But he promoted professional baseball in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Back then, Mr. McKay, H.L. McKay owned the Chevrolet place, and him and Dick Burnett were friends. And, you know, we heard a lot of stories about them buying and selling oil leases and things like that. And so back in the boom, and baseball was the thing. I mean, and a lot of guys, and a lot of stories that I like to hear is, like, I have a little bit of connection because my dad, now this wouldn't hold up in court because I've never seen it on paper, but my dad played for the Drillers. And he got drafted because that was the St. Louis team. And he got drafted by St. Louis, but if he went to play Double-A ball for the St. Louis Cardinals, he'd have had to take a cut pay. Because when you played baseball, they paid you a little bit to play baseball, but when you're not playing baseball in the offseason, you worked out in the oil field. So if you were an oil field player that could play baseball, you didn't have to work during the summer because you were playing baseball.
Dick Burnett integrated the Texas leagues. In 1952, he had the first black player come to Dallas, and his name was Dave Hoskins. And this was 5 years after Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson played for the Dodgers in 1947. 5 years later, Dick Burnett was responsible for integrating the Texas League. And Hoskins was a very popular player, had a tremendous year that year that he played. And I believe the next year he went to the Cleveland Indians. He had 7 Hall of Fame players, which included Ty Cobb, came and played for the Dallas Eagles in the Cotton Bowl.
Wow. We've come back to Gladewater, Texas to learn more about the lost history there. The old ballpark has been completely renovated and barely resembles the time that it housed the Gladewater Bears. But as you can see, baseball continues to be played there, but now by youth leagues. And near downtown, the home of team founder Dick Burnett still stands. But the best source of information and images related to the team resides in the Gladewater Museum, where we met up with Todd Clifton to take a look. Hey, Todd.
Hi, Bob. Good to see you.
Hey, so I understand the Texas Rangers got their start here in Gladewater.
They certainly did.
And we're standing now here in the Gladewater Museum in front of a display that kind of tells the whole story. And I guess it all started with a man who got his start in the oil field.
That's right.
And tell us about him.
Dick Burnett was a famous oil man from Gladewater, and he struck oil in 1932, became very wealthy. But his passion or his love was baseball.
Yeah.
So he bought a team in Shreveport, moved them to Gladewater. 1935, the Gladewater Bear baseball team.
And there you go. You strike oil, you make your money in that, and then you pursue your dream and buy a baseball team.
That's right.
Here in Gladewater, I know Gladewater was home for him. Kind of tell us how things branched out. I know there's some visual history here with that.
Yes, 1948, he bought a team in Dallas, the Texas Rebels, which he renamed the Dallas Eagles. And something very interesting happened. In April of 1950, he pulled off one of the greatest promotions in Texas sports history. He rented the Cotton Bowl. They had over 53,000 fans come because what he did, he hired former Major League players that became Hall of Fame players.
Okay.
He had 7 Hall of Fame players, which included Ty Cobb, Dizzy Dean, Tress Speaker. There were a number of them. Came and played for the Dallas Eagles in the Cotton Bowl.
Wow. Is there a photo of that here anywhere?
Yes, here are the players right here.
Okay.
These are some of the Hall of Fame players that played for the Dallas Eagles that day. Here's Dizzy Dean, Mickey Cochran, Home Run Baker, Tress Speaker, he's from Hubbard, Texas, Hall of Famer. Of course, the famous Ty Cobb, the Georgia Peach.
And this is our guy right here, right?
That's him.
And there's a better photo of him down here somewhere, a big one, right?
Yes.
Is this him?
Yes.
Yeah. Is this
Dick Burnett.
Yes,
That's correct.
Dick Burnett. Wow.
That's one of his early teams, the Gladewater Bears.
The Gladewater Bears actually played very close to where we're standing right now, which now that original stadium no longer exists, but baseball is still played on those grounds, right?
That's right. That's right. Our young people play there today. They converted that stadium into a youth baseball park. So our kiddos play there today.
That's so cool.
They sure do.
And we're not very far from the home where he actually lived. Is that correct?
Yes, his original home site, about a block north of where we're standing right now. That's where he lived.
So baseball was a national pastime back then. Still is to some degree. There's a lot of other things competing for folks' attention these days, but baseball was a big deal. Talk about how big of a deal baseball was to Gladewater.
Well, when they had games here, when Dick Burnett's teams played, all the businesses would close and the people would all go out to the ballpark, and it was just a community affair. They were very proud of their baseball team.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing all this history with us, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob.
Gladewater, Texas is known across Texas for a lot of things. The Roundup Rodeo and its antiques bring folks to town. When they arrive, they find so much more. Those who have ridden just off of Highway 80 and maybe make a wrong turn on Melba Street have most likely stumbled upon a beautiful abandoned school building, the old Gladewater High School. In 2023, former students were given the chance to go on their own expedition, a self-guided tour of the halls they once roamed decades ago before the school closed.
I'm Betty Stegall,
I'm Tony Strong.
class of 1962.
Once known simply as Crossroads, its place on the edge of the piney woods inspired John Wynn to buy the 351 acres that later became Winnsboro. This week's Expedition Texas Spotlight City.
In the late 1800s, the railway came in here, which really was the driving force behind who we are today and what supported and spurred the commercial and economic development here in Winnsboro.
Winnsboro has history on every corner. For example, this building was the old City Hall, and here it is in its original state. And just across the street from that, at the old railroad depot, a little Bonnie and Clyde history.
I know that Bonnie and Clyde have made their way across multiple cities, but I think what's unique about their story here in Winnsboro is that we are their final destination. We are the last place that they visited before they ultimately met their final fate in Louisiana in 1934. It is said that they were here in front of the depot that we're in today to purchase and collect ammunition and guns for their travels to Louisiana. So I always felt that that was an interesting piece of Bonnie and Clyde, that we were their last stop.
And while Winnsboro's history is certainly interesting, it's what happens there now that makes it a place you'll want to visit.
The community here is unlike any other community that I've ever visited. Sometimes you go to other local communities and you walk into a local establishment and you just don't feel like you belong. You won't find that here in Winnsboro. Any establishment that you walk into, you're going to be greeted with a smile, you're going to feel welcome, you're going to feel like you belong. And that's not just our downtown area, it's really citywide, no matter where you go. If it's a local farmer that you see at the gas station or somebody you run into at the grocery store, they're going to help you find whatever it is you're looking for. And I'm very, very proud of our community, and I am so happy to call this place home.
For all these reasons and more, Winnsboro is this week's Spotlight City.
Well, my memories of this building go all the way back to kindergarten. We used to ride the bus through here, dropping all the kids off, and they'd take us over to the other schools, and I always thought, this is such a beautiful, magnificent building. I can't wait till I can come over here and be a part of it. So it goes all the way back to 1972 when I started kindergarten. The first year I got to come to class here, I was a student in the 8th grade in the band program, and the band director would bus about 10 of us from the 8th grade program over to help with high school band. We got to march as 8th graders. We got to play in the concert band as 8th graders. So my first classes here were in the band hall, which is behind the building. This school district has been 100% a part of my life, my entire life.
How does this building and the fact that people are taking steps to keep it, keep life in this building, how does that make you feel?
That makes me feel just absolutely so proud. My thought when the school district built the new middle school and we decided that we were going to leave this beautiful building, my thought was, I hope they never tear it down. This building needs to stand forever. It is probably the prettiest building, the most beautiful building that is used for a school, a public school that I've ever seen.
I'm Betty Stegall.
I'm Tony Strong.
Class of 1962.
Well, my first time was I was in the 6th grade, and we came up here to see a play. And I remember it was Puss in Boots. And then the following year in 7th grade, we came up here in 7th grade, and I was here through the 7th grade through the 12th grade.
So you have kind of a second life here in the building. Tell me, I guess you know this building really well because of that. Talk to me about that.
Okay, I came back to Gladewater after college and everything, and I was very fortunate to become a teacher, coach, and then later on I ran maintenance. And for about 15 years, I took care of this building, plus about 4 or 5 other buildings, and had a great group of men that worked for it. They were excellent. They thought a lot of their work, they thought a lot of their job, and they loved their school. And we were very fortunate to have the means to have the facilities that we have. We have had good athletic programs. The teachers, the coaches, they thought so much of the children, and it was just great to be part of this.
Our teachers were important, maybe a little different than they are now because the district required that they live in the city. So we saw them all over town, in church, in grocery stores, in the shops, as well as in school. And there just seemed to be a really great element of personal interest between teachers and their students, but then friends. I think most kids, as they go through high school, would say they're friends.
How much history can one town hold? Gladewater, Texas is busting at the seams with stories of days gone by and important contributions to greater Texas history. Whether it's Elvis Presley rocking the local dance hall or the minor league beginnings of one of Texas' most beloved baseball teams. Among the souvenirs in Gladewater, memories remain. Down the road, there's another lost legend waiting to be explored, and on Expedition Texas, we're going to find it.